Bershus the Rav, a well-known comedian, gave a commencement speech at Dartmouth College in which he addressed his attempt and ultimate failure to model himself after other masters in his field. He disclosed to the students that he looked up to certain comedians in his field and always attempted to reach their level of skill and expertise. But somehow he always kept missing the mark. He shared with the graduating students a profound insight about his experience of failure. It was precisely his failure to become his perceived ideal that ultimately defined him. Because of his inability to become his role models, he was able to find his own voice and discover his own qualities and talents, which ultimately led him and enabled him to emerge successful in his career. Sometimes it is our failure to become someone else that we look up to that can be the catalyst for profound reinvention of ourselves. Today we are standing on the cusp of Rosh Hashanah, days away from the Day of Judgment. We may feel a sense of anxiety, urgency, perhaps even despair. Personally, I always feel completely unprepared when I hear the Chazan sing, HaMelech, ay, 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 ay. It always feels too soon. In those next few moments, I try to gather my thoughts and focus on the davening. But my imagination always gets the better of me, and I start to think. My thoughts begin to wander. It's Rosh Hashanah already. I'm not ready for this. I know I can be a better father, a better husband, a better person. I begin to think of all the negative things about myself that I wish I could change, but somehow always bring with me to every single Rosh Hashanah, year after year. Thinking about who I am today always seems to evoke a sense of frustration and failure in me. However, the first verses in this week's parsha instruct us to focus on the present. When Moshe gathers the entire people for his final speech, the Torah states, Atem nitzavim hayom, you are standing here today, kolchem lefnei Hashem Elokeichem, all of you before Hashem your God. Rabbi Yisrael Spira, the Bluzhever Rebbe, notes a hint to Rosh Hashanah in this verse. The Zohar states that whenever the Torah uses the word hayom, it's a reference to Rosh Hashanah, the Day of Judgment, the ultimate day, Rosh Hashanah. Often when we think of tshuva and the need to change, we focus on trying to become someone different than who we are right now. We think of the person that we are and compare that with the person we want to be, and when the two don't match up, we feel disappointed and despair. We lose sight and lose hope in the capacity for us to change. However, the great Bali Musar, the masters of the ethical dimensions of Judaism, disagree. Contrary to popular belief, according to the Bali Musar, we should not be focusing on trying to become someone who we're not. We have to focus on who we are. Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, the famous Mashgiach of the Mir Yeshiva, shared a teaching of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, the founder of the Musar movement. Rabbi Yisrael said as follows: every individual must serve Hashem by drawing upon his own powers of intellect, emotion, and character. A person must realize that every necessary quality is already within him. It is important for a person to know his faults, so he knows what he must change. But it is even more important for him to know his virtues and his strengths, so he knows how much he can accomplish. Too often in life we focus on our mistakes and areas we want to change and become paralyzed. We feel that what we need to do or who we would like to be lies beyond our reach, somewhere beyond our grasp. However, the truth is that we have everything we need. Teshuvah means to return to our true selves. Although we all have areas in our lives we want to change, and we should have role models and goals for our future. To truly empower ourselves to change, we must build on the strengths we have right now. It is those qualities that make us who we are. Rav Avram Yitzchak Cohen Cook expresses this dichotomy of the experience of change. Rav Cook writes, we must see life in two different dimensions. Life as it ought to be, and life as it is. Absolute righteousness is always rooted in how things ought to be. But provisional righteousness, which touches more on living in the present, is built on how things actually are. The two are connected, like alternating horizons on a long journey. Perhaps this is what the Zohar was hinting at when it highlighted the words Hayom as a reference to Rosh Hashanah. We always read Parshas Nitzaveh before Rosh Hashanah because the very first verse of the Parsha reminds us that we must embrace the present. We must live in the today. In order to embark on the journey of Tshuva, we have to know where we stand today. Attendance of Lim Hayom. We have to understand who we are and what strengths we have right now. The Bluzher Rebbe noted another reference to Rosh Hashanah in this week's Parsha. In the very next verse, the Torah lists all the people that gathered together that day. Tzapchem, v'shechem, v'gerchem, asher b'kerev machanecha. Your children, your wives, even the stranger within your camp. From the wood choppers to the water drawers. Using a Hasidish wordplay, the Bluzher Rebbe suggests that the word Eitzecha, literally your wood choppers, can be understood as Eitzecha, your advice God, from the Hebrew word Eitzah, advice. On the day of judgment, on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem gives us an Eitzah. He gives us advice. What's that advice? To blow the shofar. The Shloach HaKadosh offers what is known as the secret, the hidden secret of the shofar. The sounding of the shofar is meant to remind us of the history of humankind, both the failings and the success. The first blast of the shofar is the tekiah, the straight blast. The next is a trua, a broken blast, or a shvarim. Then we follow it with another tekiah. The first tekiah, the straight blast, represents mankind's creation. In the beginning, God created man yashar, straight and upright. Then, as the story unfolds, man makes mistakes, experiences brokenness. Hence, the middle blast of the shvarim are broken. But the Shloah adds on one point. That after the shvarim and the trua, the brokenness comes again, the tekiah, the straight blast, because man can return to his pristine self. He can return through tshuva to who he was all along. Teshuva is not about becoming someone else. It is about rediscovering and returning to our true selves. In a way, it is a process of turning back, yet moving forward. As Rav Kook noted, both life as it is today and life as it ought to be are intimately connected. In order to effect real change, we have to live in both realities by being both true to the present and reaching out for the future. The nexus between our current reality and our vision for the future is where change is born. So this Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to do something different. As I stand in shul and hear the chazan begin Hamelech, even when it takes me by surprise, as it always does, I'm going to tell myself, shul, instead of dreaming of someone you're not, embrace the moment. Embrace today. At this moment, Hashem wants me.